Good morning.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the day 2 of the PPM Summit. So we had some exceptional speakers yesterday. We talked about leadership in a digital world. We talked about moving from efficiency-centered projects to more change-centric projects. We talked about new ways of working in PPM, and we'll continue with that. We have some fabulous speakers today, and we will talk about new ways of working in portfolio management, new ways of working um, with innovation. So let me straight away present you the first speaker of this day, uh, Fabiana Danoyello. So Fabiana is Innovation Management Director with Ferrer, where she's responsible for generation of new R&D projects to solve unmet clinical needs and implementation of innovation culture through the organization. Focus in central nervous system, pain, cardiometabolism, therapeutic areas, and niche diseases. Responsible for analysis of R&D projects, viability, integrated project management, R&D portfolio analysis, and management. So I give you the stage to speak about new ways of working with innovation. So Fabiana, the stage is yours.
Okay. Thank you very much, Mira. Thank you for the introduction. So let's go directly to the scope of my talk. Today, I'm going to show you, to share with you a case study based on the implementation of an internal innovation structure. Just one slide about Ferrer. Ferrer is the company I work for. It's a Spanish private pharmaceutical company, privately owned. We are based in Barcelona. Our business area are pharmaceuticals, fine chemicals, and some very little but small Spanish located OTC and personal health. In terms of therapeutic area, we are focusing more and more in neurological disorders, pulmonary and interstitial lung disease, specifically rare disease. We are present in 100 countries worldwide with 19 international affiliates. Our total sales in 2019 was 651 millions, of which 56% were international sales. Our total staff in 2019 was about 1,830 people.
Excuse me, Fabiana, sorry.
Yes.
Are you presenting your slides because we cannot see them?
Yes, I'm presenting, yes.
Okay. So if you can share it again, I think the screen sharing did not work.
I'm sorry. I will do it again. Sorry. Now?
Yeah, now we can see. You can just click on the presentation mode,
Yes.
and it should be okay. Perfect. Yeah.
I just change. It's okay now?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's perfect now. Yeah.
Okay, perfect. So I'll skip this one. I just mentioned it, so I will skip it. And I will go straight really to, to the focus and the objective of this talk. So this is a standard scheme for R&D project and portfolio management, where from some idea we can process feasibility studies in order to define if this idea could be a project or not. And once we have this project, of course, we go through the implementation pathway in order to obtain a product that could be available for commercialization and for launch. So, but today I'm not going to talk neither of feasibility, neither about implementation. I'm going to talk about how we can generate new ideas. Well, from a more traditional point of view, ideas or new projects really were based on internal drug discovery structures with a certain number of advantages, which were the internalization of skills and capabilities, the full captures of returns, having access to an integrated R&D, but of course also some downsides. So because there was a full risk exposure, long-term horizon, low R&D productivity, and of course a certain uncertainty about returns. So actually, when I joined Ferrer in 2001, I entered a typical or standard R&D center where we had our drug discovery with medicinal chemistry, pharmacologies, preclinical development, well, all the typical drug discovery structure. But 12 years after I joined Ferrer, it was decided to actually close down the R&D center. By the way, I was responsible for closing down, which, as you can imagine, was not an easy task. And we just kept with formulation development and with the clinical development, but all related with drug discovery, preclinical development was closed down. And actually, we moved at that moment to a fully BD, business development and open innovation structure in order to look for new idea of new projects. The upsides that moment was, of course, that we have the possibility to diversify our R&D investment, to have access to unlimited source of technology and ideas. We had the possibility also to, of course, share risk and access to different key opinion leaders in different fields. But there was also some downsides, like the partial ownership of the asset. We were strongly dependent on external knowledge, and of course there were some problems also in process of works implementation. But probably the most relevant issue that we had was related with the first downside, so the partial ownership of the asset, because we experienced a certain loss of control on really the project of the R&D project that we were managing. So we decided that in addition to the open innovation and BD action, we needed some internal innovation in order to drive some R&D proposal, some life cycle management, and combine them with entrepreneur initiatives. And we started thinking in which way we could implement this internal innovation. And we took, of course, advantage of a great thinker about innovation, like Henry Chesbrough, with whose thinking really was that R&D should not be the only department involved in developing, implementing innovation, and that should be a corporative culture, of course, in combination with external talent. So actually we moved from a concept of internal innovation, open innovation, to a concept of collaborative innovation. Collaborative means collaborative internally and externally. And today, I'm not going to talk about open innovation, neither acquisition. I'm going to talk about the concept of co-creation and user insight and bottom up. And why? Well, the reason is that at the end, for a solution for a new idea to be successful in the market, it should address customer needs. If we are not addressing customer needs, we will not bring value. And if we bring value, we will not be successful. So we really need to start from asking our end user what are their needs. And actually, we, apart from asking them and finding a solution, we then also collaborate in co-creating this solution. And from a bottom-up concept view, we have also to understand that only 7% of the new idea of new project come from the corporate R&D area, while 70% could come from different people of the organization, especially those closer to the market, as well as from external agents. So based on this consideration, we implemented this internal innovation structure, which we called Innovation Delivered across Ferrer under the acronym of IDEA, in order to correlate with the concept of bringing new idea. We based our strategy on 4 pillars: value, return of investment, focus, and time. So in terms of value, as I mentioned in the beginning, it was fundamental for us to address relevant unmet clinical needs and to find solution to them, to have a return of investment in the first 5 years after launch, and to have solution focused in the strategic area, hospital and targeting hospital and specialists, and most importantly, solution that could access the market within 7 years. So, of course, this means the time constraints means that we could not work on new chemical entities, neither on new biological entities, neither, of course, talking about gene therapy or cell therapy. And really, we decided with this internal innovation structure to really look for the concept of value-added medicine. So medicines that are based on known molecules or known project or known product, where actually you can repurpose, develop digital therapies, develop new formulation or new combination in order to provide treatments in new indication, or the same treatment in the same indication but with an improved safety profile, a better efficacy, or a better use. And we built a stage gate process to guide this internal innovation process in 4 stages: identify, define, discover, and generate. So from, for example, in a therapeutic area like CNS, and specifically, for example, neurological disorders, based on a certain number of parameters, like intrinsic attractiveness of the disease, the fit with our capabilities, the target pool attractiveness in terms of available products, licensing, and also taking into account the technical risk. We identified we prioritized a certain number of disease, which we called our challenge. And based on this challenge, we started defining and discover in this specific indication which are the needs and which are the opportunity really to address clinical unmet relevant need. And once we have found this opportunity, we devoted one, let's say, stage to try to find some solution. And I think it's important, would like to stress the importance that 3 of the 4 process are really devoted to understanding the problem, and just 1 to generate a solution. Because I'm sorry, but I would like really to highlight this concept, because innovation really comes out from problems and not an idea. And I'm highlighting this also because this was the major difficulties that we faced when we started implementing this internal innovation structure, because people were as the tendency always to go to the solution, to end up with the solution, and they don't devote time, they don't allocate time to think about the need, to think about the problem. And really, what it was our intention really to work on understanding the need, understanding the problem before going to a solution. No? And just to highlight once again, and then of course I will talk about other things, is that I would like to share with you the sentence of Einstein that if I had an hour to solve a problem, I would spend 15 minutes thinking about the problem and just 5 minutes about thinking the solution. So, the concept of collaborative innovation was, as I mentioned at the beginning, towards our stakeholders, towards externally. So, I mean, through our asking to key opinion leaders, asking to patients, asking to nurses, to really understand the customer needs. But it was also important to have a concept of internal collaborative and multidisciplinary organization. So our idea team that was focused on different therapeutic areas were composed by different profile, a multidisciplinary profile, including innovation people from e-health, scientific department, medical advisor, business development, marketing, sales, patient advocacy, in order that once a small challenge was defined, a small group of these people were organized in order to really deep dive in the indication and understand the unmet clinical need. Of course, we based also the collaboration on collaborative tools like disease map, stakeholders network, understanding the patient journey, and once we have identified the potential opportunity, try to find the solution. So this is an example of the tool that we use to really understand the disease. Starting understanding the disease, we address, of course, typical issue like treatments, trends, tech trends, potential new entries, patient journey, stakeholders, customer needs, but most importantly, we really focus on the patient journey, actually not only the patient, also the prescriber journey, the journey, for example, of the hospital pharmacies, the journey of the person who take care of the patients, the journey we have been thinking sometimes also of the journey of the nurses. So really, with the idea of finding this situation where we have a problem with the objective of finding solution to this problem. And this is what ended up with a proposal starting from a need of a product, of a service, with the objective of trying to solve the situation that are painful for the customer we are talking about, and that can improve, for example, I don't know, the efficacy or the adherence to treatment, whatever we can think about. Of course, all the opportunities are then scored in terms of strategic fit, in terms of value potential, financial impact, assessment of risk, and time to market, and depending, of course, on the number, these different parameters are balanced in terms of different percentage of importance, of relevance, because for us, for example, unmet need is more critical than competitive intensity. So based on this, we scored the different idea, and we selected the ideas that, based on this score, were the most relevant to us. What are the results of this internal innovation structure in a time frame of 1.5 years? Well, we have been working with 25 challenges. Among these 25 challenges, we have found 7 solutions for 7 of them, of course. And among these 7 solutions, 3 are now new R&D project in our pipeline. So we have scored, let's say, a success rate of 12%. In terms of time frame, this took the time really to take a challenge for more or less 5 months, time to idea more or less 2 months. And then in terms of culture implementation of innovation culture, really we quoted by addressing more than 100 professional and patient, and internally by interacting among more or less 30 collaborators. So if we compare with other companies, we know that systematic innovation, the implementation of this type of structure could bring 13% more benefit. And really our analysis of the IDEA program that we implemented is that it allows us to really be patient-centric, to engage with our different stakeholders, which means prescribers, key opinion leaders, nurses, hospital pharmacists, for example, caregivers, and that really we have achieved a joint effort, multidisciplinary, of the relevant part of the company, and that we have been focusing on the need before thinking about a product. The downside, of course, is that you need people that should be ambidextrous in the sense that they need to have the mentality of exploitation, but also of exploration. Sometimes it's not that easy. And of course, digital and technology is usually the more straightforward as the main source of the solution. But really, we think this has been, in terms of case studies, it has been positive based on the results that we obtain, and we will continue with this type of initiative. And our take-home messages is really that it's important to think about the need before the product, or thinking about the product or services. That is very critical to think about, to understand the problem, to understand the need, and not going directly to the solution. That is fundamental to collaborate internally and externally, and that's why we call it a collaborative innovation, and that the innovation is not only the, let's say, the property of the Department of Innovation. And with this, I thanks for your attention, and I open to questions, and I wish you keeping safe, taking into account what all of us are living now.
Thank you so much, Fabiana, for this insightful case study presentation. I really like the fact that you're saying that collaborative means collaborating not only internally, but externally. And I love this definition you mentioned of innovation being invention plus commercialization. I think we all can apply that. And especially that innovation comes out of problems, not ideas. and a lot of times we are stuck in thinking that it's about all about ideas, but no, it's about problems. And I really like this idea. I found it very, very interesting the way you came up with the collaborative tools like disease map, patient journey, and prescriber journey. And would love to know more about it, and also the culture implementation of innovation culture. I think we can have you back for another time, especially on that point. I have already a comment from Jero. Great work, a very convincing case study about a culture shift in innovation approach, which I agree every word. And also another feedback coming up from Alice. Brilliant presentation. She has a question. Did you encounter any issues with stakeholder alignment, and how did you solve this? Most common internally with external stakeholders.
Well, externally, well, it was curious at the beginning, when we started talking with, for example, prescribers. They were surprised at the beginning by our approach, because the prescriber are used to receive visit from the pharmaceutical company presenting already products, no, not promoting, but at least asking for already products, no, the services that you have, and asking them feedback on this, no. So the fact that we were going them, that we were revisiting them, that we were asking them, which is your problem? At the beginning, they were a little bit surprised of this approach. This was not an issue, but at least needed some preliminary introduction to them in order for them for a better understanding. At the beginning, internally, the most important, we faced two issues. One is the one that I already mentioned, the fact that we need people that have the ability to think about, let's say, short term, medium term, in terms of exploitation and also exploration. So it's ambidextrous mentality, but also the fact that the R&D people sometimes thinks that this is only their domain, no, and that commercial people doesn't understand and read R&D, which sometimes is true, but the fact that they don't understand doesn't mean that they could not collaborate. So it's R&D that should be able to find this common understanding with commercial people. But it's true that the mentality of R&D sometimes and the mentality of commercial people is not fully aligned, and so you have to work on this.
Okay, we have presentation coming up. So from Mike, were there any challenges getting collaboration across functions or governance?
Well, the fact that some of the people, the people from marketing or other area, business development, that had to do this on the top of their usual operational work. So this meant additional efforts to their daily working. So for the R&D innovation people, it's logical to work on this. It's their, I wouldn't say their obligation, because it should be their motivation more than their obligation, but they are there for this. But of course, sometimes it could be difficult in terms for them to find time to dedicate to this.
Okay, thank you, Fabiana, so much for answering these questions and for your fantastic presentation. So with this, we go backstage for a minute, and thank you so much, Fabiana. See you.
Okay.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye. Bye.